Île-à-la-Crosse is the second oldest community in Western Canada. It will be, in 2026, 250 years old. The Île-à-la-Crosse Residential School is one of the oldest schools in Canada. So when you think about that and you put it into context, over 100 years and 6 to 7 generations of harm in that school. And it didn't just affect Île-à-la-Crosse. You look to our communities in Northwest Saskatchewan and you see the harm. You see the suicides. You see the abuse of drugs and alcohol. You see beautiful, beautiful communities, but you see the loss of language, the loss of culture, the grieving for the land. That was as a result of this residential school that has not been acknowledged.
Recorded history of Île-à-la-Crosse dates back to 1776. So we have a long history within this community. Arguably, I think we have one of the oldest residential schools in the country. I think, the school here, I believe, started within the mid-1800s. Saskatchewan didn't become a province until 1905, and then residential school was here already. It was inherited at some point by the provincial government, and they continued running the school until it closed in the early 1970s. Because we're a Métis community, and we're a Métis, it was considered a Métis residential school, we don't have closure to this one. Government continues to fail to recognize, that this school existed, and it was a residential school, and students from around the region were coerced or forcibly, brought to Île-à-la-Crosse.
The rules were no different than what the Indian residential school. Because Beauval is right next door to us. And Beauval, I know that for a fact, a lot of our survivors actually went to both places. And same thing with supervisors, they exchanged supervisors from Beauval. Beauval got recognized, we didn't. And so the agenda was the same. Take the culture out of the child. That's the agenda.
I mean, this has been an ongoing conversation for decades. And when I worked with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, we heard this over and over again around how the Île-à-la-Crosse boarding school was not included in the settlement agreement. The commissioners of the TRC said this is a barrier to reconciliation, that these survivors are not being treated equally or fairly, and that needs to happen before we can further reconciliation in this country. And so here we are, we fast forward, it's, how many years since the TRC issued its final report, 7, 8 years now, and we're still in that situation. And for us to have full reparations for reconciliation, the Île-à-la-Crosse boarding school needs to be recognized, and these survivors need to be compensated.
Île-à-Crosse is the people. It's those that live here, those that have been here, and those that come home to Île-à-Crosse. It's a place we call home. It's loving, it's kind, but it does have its pains and its sorrows.
Once we were inside the institution, everything changed for us. We lost our names. We were never called by name. We had a number. My number was number 44. 44? I had to remember that number. If I didn't, then there was consequences to deal with. And that was a constant thing in there. The language, the number, and how you behaved. We were little savages, right? When we went in there. Take the savage away from us and try to make us a little bit more human, I guess.
So they came in, and their impact was to change us, to change our our way of thinking about Kisimanitu, or God. They wanted us to believe what they believed. We lost our parents back then. You know, our parents lost their children, and so a lot of them became alcoholics. Thank God there was no drugs those days, but there was a lot of alcohol that went around the community. That impacted all of us, my parents, my brothers, myself.
It was hard because they gave us numbers. They didn't know our name. And so my number was 66. We had a little box, like it wasn't, we call them lockers now, but it was like a locker, and our number written there, and that's where we kept our clothes. That's where everything that we owned was inside that box. And I used to like going to school. I wanted to learn, but not to be treated mean and beat up or screamed at all the time inside the boarding school.
We couldn't talk our language, and that was all we knew, the Michif language, and you couldn't even say tanse. We get strapped, every day we get strapped if you talk your language.
My grandkids, when they come over, I always hug them and tell them I love them, because 10 months of the year, I never heard I loved you. There's always something else. And I never really knew my family, my mom and dad, because of boarding school.
We got nothing to play with in the yard, not even a ball, not even a football or anything. We never went to town or anything. We don't buy nothing. We never get out of the yard. This is a true story. It's just like jail, where I went to school.
I was abused at one time, but I was so young that in my mind I tried to figure out what actually happened. It's like I had suppressed it for so long that I can't even make a figure of who it was. There was a lot of different things that I figured that from that on, after I had that sexual abuse, my mind was not really where it's supposed to be. Because when a child goes through that, it just destroys your whole body, your whole mind, and your soul. But there was so much anger that you felt like you want to retaliate even to your friend that's the same age as you. You were always angry and wanted to hurt somebody.
When the Pope came to Edmonton, I don't travel, by the way, because of my fear. I said to myself, now if I were to travel, would I really truly go and see this man? I thought about that for quite a while, and I said, you know what, I wouldn't. But I did sit at home and I listened to him on TV. And when he was talking about the abuses that were done to the kids in the boarding school or in the residential school, he was talking about psychological, emotional, physical. And I was waiting, sexual. He never said it. And I just went like this, and I said to my husband, Louis, I said, damn, all of what he says means nothing to me. He did not acknowledge that those priests and those nuns and those Catholic priests and nuns that were supposed to be helping these little babies, these little children, he did not say that they were inappropriate, that they were sexually abusing them. Didn't utter those words at all.
The apology was something that many survivors needed in their own personal healing journeys. Our visit to Rome, as well as the papal visit here in Canada, played a significant role in amplifying the voices and the experiences of Métis residential school survivors, stories that often don't get told in Canadian history or even in mainstream media. And so we've taken steps forward in making sure that people understand that Métis did go to residential school and that there is still so much more work to do. However, in actual, like I say, tangible actions towards justice, we still have a lot of work to do.
Any outside agency that doesn't understand identity, culture, values, and language are not going to be able to give proper support. Kispinigunan ke kagtap mechik kaguwichi hiwichik muin stuhta mogtan sininani smatsia muingas tautawichi ko. That's what I said in English and Cree. In regards to, we need the true support based on who we are as Métis people and First Nations people. That our communities, our elders are important. But if you give from the status quo perspective in regards to giving money, then the expectations are not what they should be based on our identity, culture, values, and language.
Bringing people back to the land and bringing people back to those teachings that come from the land. And with that comes, language revitalization and connection to identity and who we are, right? Because anywhere you talk about residential schools in Canada, even around the world, you can look at this, where people are displaced for land, which equals money, natural resources, which equals money. That is the biggest factor that every government, every power that be is leaving out. Because, right, when we talk about compensation, the impact of culture and heritage, they don't want to talk about land because that is the ultimate shift of power. And I think that is the biggest missing piece that we need to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's really important, I think, for the survivors of Île-à-la-Crosse is that my mandate includes more than the Indian Residential School Settlement Agreement schools. That's how I interpret it. And so I want to make sure that survivors know that I'm here to help them and to hear from them and deliver their messages to the people that need to hear their messages. So one of the things I think most Canadians don't know is that these burials and the missing children aren't just at the 145 Indian residential schools under the settlement agreement. They're at these other institutions that weren't recognized. They're at hospitals, Indian hospitals. They're at mental health institutions, reformatories, all these institutions that were also operated by provinces. And so we need provinces and territories to commit to reconciliation and do what they need to do to release records to survivors and come to the table for have those conversations about what does reparations look like. And that needs to happen today. We can't wait 10, 20 more years. It needs to happen today.
We need healing. We need lodges. We need healing lodges all over the north and in urban settings as well. We need more detoxes. We need more rehabs. We need our ceremonies back. A lot of healing comes from ceremonies, so we need sweats. We need just all of our traditional medicines back and all of that stuff to come back.
The time has come for Canadians to be able to see the damage that has been done to Indigenous people. The time has come to be able to speak as that one voice and be supportive of one another. When individuals win, communities win, and big cities win, provinces win, Canada wins, everybody's a winner. but we need to respect each other, understand the circumstances where we're at, and hopefully together, this can never happen again, but we need to fix it and have the right supports in place.
Immediately, what we need to see is actual recognition from the provincial government in Saskatchewan and the Canadian federal government that Île-à-la-Crosse boarding school was a residential school, and that the harms that were done to almost 7 generations of Métis children and First Nations children at that institution happened, and that their stories are true, and that it's the same harm that was done through the Indian residential school system. And so without that recognition, we can't move forward in our healing journey. We can't move forward with reconciliation. We need that recognition from both the federal government and the provincial government together to move that justice piece forward.
We need to get this done sooner than later. We know that the youngest survivors are in their 50s, mid-50s, and the oldest survivors are 97, 98 years old. And so we've been losing survivors almost on a weekly basis. In the last year, we've lost, I think it's getting up to about 30 in the last year. So it is so vitally important that we get this done as soon as possible. And I would hope that the province and Canada believe that it's not just a legal obligation, but it's a moral and ethical obligation.